All right, let's get it. Welcome to another edition of No Pump Fake Sports. I'm your host, Passport T, and let's talk a little NBA basketball. Man, this video is a little different from what I normally do, but yeah, man, it was just on my mind yesterday. So I said, man, I'm going to make this video because over the summer, man, before the basketball season had even started, I was online and we was just talking basketball and, the topic of the top 10 players in the league came up, and everybody was on there just going hard and saying that James Harden was probably the, third, fourth, or fifth best player in the entire NBA. And I was like, man, you got to be crazy. So, of course, I mentioned Paul George, and I mean, the chat went haywire. I mean, you had people bashing Paul George left and right. And, I was just basically explaining to these guys, man, you guys are just going off of, what you see James Harden doing right now, but y'all not paying close attention to the particulars. First off, man, James Harden is allergic to defense. If you bring defense close to James Harden, man, he'll break out in straight honeycomb red rash all over his body. He's allergic to defense. That's number one. Then if you pay close attention to his game, he has that struggle three-point shot. Everybody is talking about the step back and this and that, but pay attention to it. It rattles home every time that he shoots it. It's not like it's pure, man. If you look at Paul George, look the way he comes off of screens and he gets open and he raised that mid-range or that three, man, it's pure, straight wet, no rim at all, straight through the net, man, like a knife went through there or a laser went through the net. I mean, Paul George's talent is much better than James Harden. People get caught up in the numbers so much that they don't pay attention to detail and look at what they are actually seeing and analyze the players. I never had James Harden in my top 8 players in the NBA. I'm not a prisoner of the moment. Yeah, he had a few good years in Houston or whatnot, but I just never looked at James Harden's game overall as just being one of these top dogs. First of all, you have to do it on both sides of the court. That's my number one criteria for when we talk about these best players. Yes, they got Giannis number 1. They got KD number 2, I think. But me personally, I like Kawhi Leonard better than Kevin Durant because Kawhi can get it done on both ends of the court. He does so many different things that KD doesn't do. Yeah, KD is a pure scorer, just like, James Harden can score the rock as well. But I just like Kawhi's game overall better than KD's, But as we see, the NBA implemented new rules. And what do we see now? Because it's not like, people are all on YouTube and they saying all these different things, but it's not like these rules are just to attack James Harden. Every player in the entire NBA has these same new rules. But what do you see? You see James Harden fell off, man, like somebody pushed him off the back of a truck. I mean, his numbers are abysmal right now. Do you realize Paul George is almost scoring 10 more points than James Harden per game? He's shooting better from the three-point line than James Harden. It's just, man, it's no comparison. And Paul is a victim of the same new rules. But how James Harden has been fooling the entire NBA over the last 7 years is he dribbles the ball, pounds it. He can't get it out of his hand. He just dribbling. He, trying to fake, trying to get around you. And what does he do? If he's behind the three-point line, if you fall into his trap and get close to him, what will he do? He's going to dive into you and then fling his arms up and throw the ball up like he's really trying to take a shot. But he's actually just trying to dive into you to get the foul. The NBA new rules cancel that out. So those he's not getting those 3 shots at the line anymore. And then when he drives to the hole, what does he do? That old under the arm hook. He'll hook your arm and throw the ball up, and guess what? They not calling that either. So all those 35 points a game and 40 points a game, we don't see it this year. Let me give you guys a little information on James this year. The Nets have played 10 games. Do you know James Harden only scored 20 points plus 3 games out of the 10? The rest of the 7 games, he is in the teens. And I mean the low teens. He's not even in the high teens like 18, 19. No, he's in 14, 13, 15. He's in the low teens. He's a shell of himself. If you don't send him to the line for 10 to 12 trips a game, he's an average player at best. He's only probably averaging, without going to the line, 17 points a game, 17, 18 points a game. Those other 15 points he'll get you every single game was coming from the free throw line. But these new rules shut that down. He's a shell of himself. He's not the same player at all. And you've seen a few other players. I'm not gonna call their name out on this video, but you've seen a few other players that's starting to look different too. But guess what? Paul George is still Paul George. They called him Pandemic P. They called him Way Off P. They diss him. He don't get no love in the media. You turn on your TV this morning, what you gonna see? Nothing about Paul George. They got Jimmy Butler over him in the top 15, NBA ranking. Jimmy Butler is higher than Paul George. But if you look at their career stats and you look at the stats for this season alone, Paul George is playing way better than Jimmy Butler. They got Harden above Paul George. Man, James Harden, man, is weak this season. It's just a shame how Paul George doesn't get any calls. He doesn't get any love from the media. You got guys like Devin Booker that's above Paul George in the top 15 players in the NBA this year. Yeah, this year. And if you look at Paul George's stats, his stats is better than Devin Booker this season and for the career. So I just don't understand it, man. I don't understand how all of these players they have ranked above Paul George, but when you dig and go into the stats, you can see Paul George is a much better player than probably out of the top 15. He's probably better than at least 6 players in the top 15 because they have PG rated number 15 in the top 15. I would actually move Paul George in the top 10, even if it's at number 10. I think Paul George makes that top 10. Man, just go into the stats and look at their career stats and look at their stats for this season. Paul George is a beast right now. He is the early front runner for MVP candidate, in my opinion. He's averaging 27 points a game, 8 rebounds. I mean, he just balling, man, out of his mind right now. And James Harden is a shell of his old self. He's barely averaging 18 points a game. And we know James normally be around 27, 28 points a game. And it's PG who is up there 27, 28 points a game this year. He's shooting almost 10 points better per game than James Harden. But you have guys trolling me online talking about James Harden as a better player. Man, my eyes don't lie to me. PG can handle the ball better than James. He knows how to move without the basketball better than James. He knows how to come off screens. His shot is pure. Man, his mid-range is better. This dude tries to create fouls in order to have a great game. And he built his entire career off of this, man. But yeah, man, I just want to salute Paul George and tell everybody who might run across this video, don't ever put James Harden in the same contest with Paul George. Period. It's no contest. But yeah, man, that's all I have on this take, man. This has been another edition of No Pump Fake Sports. I'm your host, Passport T. Man, you guys hit that like button, share the video, hit the bell icon so you can get all of the notifications. And man, I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Peace.